Hello, welcome to the channel. Today we will learn about the shocking manipulation scheme that Rachel Black has devised, teaching young Thomas DiMera exactly how to destroy his father's blossoming relationship with Kat Green, ultimately forcing the heartbroken woman to walk away from Chad forever. What dark tactics will these children employ, and how will this devastating plan reshape the DiMera family's future? Let's find out. Rachel's calculated manipulation. The dramatic episode unfolds with Thomas and his cousin Rachel Black sitting together in a dimly lit room at the DiMera mansion, where the young boy desperately asks how he can ensure his father, Chad DiMera, doesn't continue his relationship with Kat Green. Thomas's voice trembles with a mixture of anger and betrayal, still reeling from the revelation that the woman his father is dating once cruelly impersonated his deceased mother, Abigail DiMera. Rachel, displaying a smug expression that reveals her satisfaction at being consulted as an expert in relationship sabotage, calmly responds with chilling confidence that it's easy. This simple statement carries enormous weight, as Rachel has already proven herself remarkably skilled at destroying her own father Brady Black's romantic relationships, having successfully driven away both Chloe Lane and Ava Vitale from Salem through her manipulative tactics. The young girl's expertise in emotional warfare now becomes Thomas's greatest weapon in his quest to protect what he perceives as his mother's memory and his family's sanctity. The ultimatum that changes everything. The footage dramatically shifts to reveal a deeply distraught Kat Green, her eyes red from crying, standing opposite a visibly sad Chad DiMera, both clearly struggling with an impossible situation. The tension in the room is palpable as the scene cuts back to Thomas, who delivers his devastating ultimatum with remarkable determination for someone so young. As long as Kat remains in Salem, he refuses to stay in the town that has been his home. This threat carries profound implications, as Thomas makes it abundantly clear he's willing to relocate to Boston to live with his grandparents, Jennifer Horton Devereaux and Jack Devereaux, rather than accept Kat as part of his father's life. The emotional blackmail places Chad in an unbearable position, forcing him to choose between his own happiness with a woman who genuinely cares for him and the emotional well-being of his son, who has already suffered tremendous trauma from losing his mother. Chad's face reflects the agony of a father torn between honoring his late wife's memory through his son's eyes and allowing himself the chance to move forward with someone new. Rachel's masterclass in relationship destruction. Drawing from her extensive experience in breaking up romantic partnerships, Rachel provides Thomas with a detailed blueprint for pushing Kat away from Chad permanently. Rachel's previous successes weren't mere childish tantrums. They were calculated campaigns that exploited vulnerabilities and created insurmountable obstacles between her father and his love interests. She explains to Thomas that the key lies in making Kat believe that her presence causes more harm than good, that her relationship with Chad creates unbearable pain for the children who have already endured so much loss. Rachel advises Thomas to emphasize his emotional suffering, to remind everyone constantly that Kat desecrated his mother's memory by impersonating Abigail during that horrific scheme. The manipulation goes deeper as Rachel suggests Thomas should appear genuinely traumatized whenever Kat is present, making it impossible for the adults to dismiss his feelings as mere childish disapproval. This psychological warfare targets not just Chad and Kat, but also enlists the sympathies of other family members like Jennifer Horton, who naturally prioritizes her grandson's emotional recovery over Chad's romantic pursuits. Rachel's strategic brilliance lies in understanding that adults, particularly parents and grandparents, will always sacrifice their own desires to protect children from perceived emotional harm. Kat's impossible choice. Kat Green finds herself trapped in a nightmare scenario where her genuine feelings for Chad directly conflict with the welfare of his vulnerable children. Having already carried the burden of guilt for her role in the fake Abigail scheme, Kat understands better than anyone how her actions have wounded this family. The weight of Thomas's pain and anger becomes unbearable for her, especially knowing that her presence serves as a constant reminder of the cruelest deception the DiMera family has endured. Kat recognizes that no matter how much she loves Chad or how hard she tries to make amends, she cannot undo the psychological damage caused by impersonating a dead woman to her own children. The emotional toll manifests in sleepless nights and tearful conversations where Kat questions whether she deserves happiness with Chad, when it comes at such a devastating cost to Thomas. As Thomas escalates his campaign, making good on his threat to leave Salem rather than accept her, Kat faces the agonizing reality that loving Chad means destroying his relationship with his son. Her heartbreak deepens as she watches Chad struggle between his duty as a father and his desire for companionship, knowing that she has become the source of his impossible dilemma. The inevitable breakup. Most observers believe Kat will ultimately succumb to Thomas's manipulation, choosing to voluntarily end her relationship with Chad rather than continue causing pain to a child who has already suffered immeasurable loss. This decision, while devastating for both Kat and Chad, represents Kat's attempt to prove she genuinely cares about Chad's well-being by putting his children's needs above her own desires. The breakup scene promises to be emotionally wrenching, with Kat explaining through tears that she cannot be the reason Thomas feels driven from his home or continues to experience trauma. Chad will likely protest, insisting that Thomas needs to learn to accept his father's choices and that running from happiness isn't the solution. However, Kat's resolve will probably remain firm, strengthened by her belief that genuine love sometimes means letting go when staying causes more harm than good. The tragedy of the situation lies in the fact that their relationship, which could have offered both Chad and Kat healing and companionship, becomes another casualty of past betrayals and manipulations. Thomas will achieve his goal, but at what cost to his father's happiness and his own emotional development remains unclear, setting the stage for Chad's departure. This storyline serves a larger narrative purpose beyond the immediate relationship drama, as it establishes the foundation for Chad DiMera's exit from Days of Our Lives following Billy Flynn's decision to join the young and the restless. The actor, who portrayed Chad for over a decade and became integral to one of daytime television's most beloved supercouples, Chabby, is leaving the show, necessitating a compelling explanation for his character's departure from Salem. The breakup with Kat, combined with Thomas's threat to relocate to Boston, creates the perfect narrative opportunity for Chad to leave town with his children, seeking a fresh start away from the painful memories and complicated relationships that have defined his recent years. This exit strategy allows the character to leave with dignity rather than being killed off, preserving the possibility of future returns while also respecting the character's history and the audience's attachment to him. The writers have cleverly woven Thomas's rebellion and Kat's sacrifice into a larger story that explains why Chad would choose to leave the DiMera empire, his family legacy, and Salem itself. Whether Chad eventually reunites with Kat, finds happiness elsewhere, or focuses entirely on rebuilding his relationship with Thomas in a new environment remains to be seen, but this departure marks the end of a significant era for Days of Our Lives viewers. This devastating manipulation by Rachel and Thomas, while achieving its immediate goal of separating Kat from Chad, raises profound questions about how adults should handle children's objections to their romantic relationships, especially when those objections stem from legitimate trauma and grief. The storyline forces viewers to grapple with uncomfortable truths about family dynamics, the lasting impact of deception, and whether protecting children from discomfort sometimes enables unhealthy coping mechanisms that prevent genuine healing. Part 2. Friday Recap. Tate's broken heart and Holly's painful goodbye. Is this really the end? It was an emotional Friday in Days of Our Lives. One of those episodes that tugged at the heartstrings and left longtime viewers wondering whether we were witnessing the end of one of Salem's most tender young love stories, or just another twist in the ongoing saga of Tate and Holly. A new job and an old heartache. The episode began in familiar territory, the dorm room Tate shares with his good friend Aaron. Aaron burst in, full of energy and excitement, practically glowing as he announced that he'd landed a job as a ghost tour guide. In typical Aaron fashion, he was bubbling over with enthusiasm, eager to share the good news with Tate. But his joy came to a screeching halt when he noticed Tate slumped on his bed, eyes dark with misery. Tate wasn't in the mood for jokes, ghost stories, or celebrations of any kind. His heartbreak over Holly was written all over his face. Aaron, always the optimist and always ready to tease, tried to cheer him up. But Tate wasn't having it. "Just leave me alone," he muttered, his tone sharp and tired. He insisted that he and Holly were done for good. Aaron just laughed. Not out of cruelty, but because he'd heard this before. "You two say that every other week," he reminded him. "You'll be fine. You always are." Aaron's tough love moment. But when Tate didn't crack a smile, Aaron decided it was time for some tough love. "If you're really over, maybe that's for the best," he said bluntly. The words landed hard. Tate's eyes flashed with hurt and disbelief. How could his best friend say something like that? Tate leapt to his feet, angry and defensive. "You don't understand," he shouted. "You don't know what she means to me." Aaron didn't back down. His patience was wearing thin. "Then do something about it," he snapped. "Either stop moping or go find her. But sitting here feeling sorry for yourself isn't going to change anything." That was when Tate's anger crumbled into sadness. He sat back down on the edge of his bed, shoulders slumped, his voice breaking. "I don't deserve her," he confessed quietly. The room fell silent for a moment. The fight was gone from him. What remained was heartbreak. Deep, honest heartbreak. Aaron sighed, realizing his friend wasn't just being dramatic. Tate truly believed he'd lost the love of his life. Old fights, new regrets. Trying to lighten the mood, Aaron coaxed Tate into talking. Slowly, Tate began to open up, recounting everything that had happened, starting all the way back with the argument at the bookstore. To the audience, it felt like weeks ago, but in Salem's strange time warp, it could have been just a day or two. As Tate revisited every detail, the anger, the misunderstanding, the words he wished he could take back, Aaron listened patiently. Then, with his usual optimism, he encouraged Tate to look forward instead of dwelling on what he couldn't change. "The future's still wide open," Aaron said. "You just have to decide if Holly's part of it." But Tate wasn't ready to hear that yet. His eyes were fixed on the floor, lost in the pain of what he believed was final. Meanwhile, Holly's farewell. Across town, the mood wasn't much brighter. At the Kiriaki's mansion, Holly was packing up her things, preparing to leave Salem. On the phone with her mother, she tried to sound cheerful as she confirmed that her flight was on time. But when she hung up, the brave face fell away. She looked utterly miserable, a young woman who didn't want to leave but didn't know how to stay. Then, just as the tears began to well up, Ari arrived at the door, lugging a large trash bag filled with Holly's clothes. The sight of her friend brought a flicker of relief to Holly's face. For a moment it almost felt normal again, but the peace didn't last. When Ari mentioned Holly's lost phone, it reopened old wounds. That phone held everything: messages, photos, memories. All the small pieces of her relationship with Tate. It wasn't just a device. It was a diary of her heart. Ari promised to ask Sophia if she knew anything about it. That's when Holly's expression changed. Confusion mixed with shock. "Sophia?" she repeated. "She was there that night?" Ari nodded slowly, realizing Holly had no idea. The revelation hit Holly like a lightning bolt. If Sophia had been there during the night of her mysterious blackout, what else might she know? What really happened that night? And why hadn't anyone told her sooner? Goodbyes and second thoughts. Ari tried to keep the conversation light as she helped Holly zip up her suitcase, but the air between them grew heavier by the minute. Both girls knew this wasn't just another trip. This was goodbye. Before leaving, Ari gave Holly one last hug, the kind of embrace that says all the words you can't find. Then she turned and walked out, leaving Holly alone in the grand, echoing room. Holly stood there in silence for a moment, staring down at her bag. Her reflection in the window showed a girl torn in two, one part desperate to escape the pain, the other too afraid to walk away from the only place where she ever truly felt something real. Finally, she whispered to herself, "Maybe I shouldn't go," but no one was there to answer. A glimpse of what's next. Back at the dorms, Tate sat in silence long after Aaron left, staring at the wall, lost in thought. Across town, Holly sat by her window, suitcase still unopened. Both were trapped in their own corners of heartbreak, each believing the other had given up. The question now looms large over Salem. Is this really the end for Tate and Holly? Or is this just another one of life's cruel tests? The kind that breaks hearts before bringing them back together? For longtime fans of Days of Our Lives, this episode felt like a bittersweet turning point. Two young souls, pulled apart by confusion, pride, and circumstance. Yet bound by a connection neither can seem to shake. And in Salem, we all know one truth holds steady through time. Love stories never truly end. They just find new ways to begin again.